Here's a dialectical technique that could become trendy. And I think it would represent a quite noticeable shift in the character of dialogue and subject matter and pace and timing and ethos and morality, I think. Imagine that two people are having a conversation and they're in a competition about truth. Suppose that the two people go on a hike and one person they both pass a plant. One points at the plant and says, "Oh, look, there's some sage." The other one says, "That's not sage." And then they argue about it. Use your imagination. Visual aids and the drama. Maybe there's some... You fill in the blank. Use your own examples from your own childhood. Or love life, or your relationship with your parents, or whatever. Everybody who is talking is trying to be correct. That doesn't sound natural way of speaking, does it? Of course everybody wants to be correct. No, everybody is trying to be right. In other words, my favorite color is blue, your favorite color is red, and instead of just simply saying there's no accounting for taste, we actually argue about which is the better color. Now, what is across the board familiar is that 80-20 Pareto ratio, or however it works, chances are the biggest, baddest, meanest, loudest, most annoying son of a bitch out of two people who are arguing wins. Not by logic, not by pure reason, but by endurance, fortitude, and basically, if you came up on the street like Vladimir Putin, might makes right. It's the oldest theory in existence. Might makes right. So nevertheless, you want to be right, but you don't even care what the arguments are. Let's suppose somebody gives you the arguments, but you win just because you're more rude and obnoxious than your interlocutor. You're just meaner. You're just more of an asshole. Maybe you're illiterate. You still win. Why? Because the other person wants to be rid of you. The other person wants to leave the room. Okay, so what I've just described is status quo. I've just given you a picture of the status quo reality. Now, what is my proposition of policy? It's not a proposition of policy. I make no normative claim. I'm simply saying I suggest to you to try a thought experiment. Use your imagination for a change. Instead of looking at your to-do list, checking your email, arguing with that person with a sentence fragment, pressing the like button, ignoring that call, looking at how much money you have left. Don't emphasize in this hypothetical virtue. Don't emphasize logical virtue. Emphasize logical defect. Imagine, dear leader, in an argument with Mark Carney, and they are arguing over who is wrong. That's the thought experiment. Imagine arguing with another person over who is more wrong or who is wrong. No, I think you sound correct. You sound too correct. You're tracking reality a little bit too hard, aren't you? You're that obsessed with reality, or do you have a learning disability, or do you have OCD? What drugs are you on for your OCD? Fluvoxamine? Luvox is the brand name. Luvox for your OCD, is that what you take? I can be even much more wrong than you. I know about all of the circular squares. I know about a second dimensional circular square, a third dimensional circular square, and a fourth dimensional circular square. The other person says, that's a conceptual impossibility. I can't even imagine what that means. And then the first person says, yeah, bingo. The idea is completely bunk. And then the other person says, imagine. Then the other person starts defending the virtue of circular squares. Actually, you're not that wrong. There are circular squares. You're not as wrong as you think. You think you're so badass that you're the most wrong in the world, that you're the most misled motherfucker. You're the most illiterate. Two can play that game. There's a lot of fucking illiterate people in the world, and if that becomes the virtue, watch out. Watch out. You won't find chaos. You'll just find a different logic. That's all. You'll still find two people fighting with each other about who's right. Except they're not arguing about who's right, they're actually arguing about who's wrong. They're arguing about who's right about who's wrong. Do you understand? Do you understand why this is logic? Do you understand why you have a moral obligation to oppose the government and cashier the leader right now? Logicians, do you understand? No holds barred. No holds barred. Defend pure reason. I have already bounded myself to the defense of pure reason. That means my life, if you want to push pure reason any further away away from civilization, you will literally have to come get me, and whether you argue with me, whether you prove me wrong, whether you prove me right, because I'm actually interested in being more wrong than you. One way or another, you'll have to get rid of me. You will have to get rid of the individual who is defending pure reason. Because in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, you will find half a dozen of us. Because if one person finds the limit, the absolute limit of pure reason, where now we all defend it with our life because we are all doctors of philosophy, right? Game over. Impeach them all. No, don't impeach them. Walk over to them across the aisle. Look at them and say, bye-bye, it's over. And they say, what are you talking about? And they say, the rules have changed. You say, Mitch McConnell, fucking Todd Blanche, fucking J.D. Vance, fucking Donald Trump, the rules have changed. We no longer argue about being right. We argue about being wrong. Now the competition is about who's the most disgusting. Right? Now we're going to argue about being right, about who's the most wrong. Now who do you think's going to win? Who knows Nietzsche by heart? All philosophers know Nietzsche by heart. Do you know how many books those are? I do. Donald Trump doesn't. He doesn't even know how to spell Nietzsche, right? But disciples of Nietzsche are capable of being absolutely the most wrong. And everybody knows that. Well, anybody that's opened Nietzsche and spent some time with it. You don't think that I can beat you in being the fucking absolute most worthless at argumentation? If you don't think that I'm capable of being the smartest person in the world, how about maybe I'm capable of being the stupidest person in the world? I bet I'm capable of being 1,000 times more stupid than Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Todd Blanche, Jeffrey Epstein, Noam Chomsky, Kristi Noam Chomsky,